Alright, so now we can begin sculpting. Just make sure you save all your stuff. I always kind of save my Maya file and my Mudbox file. And I always save it in a folder. And I try to name them the same at first. There we go. Cool. Incidentally, if you want to update your bones back there as far as the naming convention, you can just say update current scene. Or go like this. There we go. Now that's going to send the one little bone. Just important to know that you have to like highlight these holding shift. And then you get all of them. Okay. So anytime you make a name change in Mudbox, it really doesn't like that here. And that's where you have to save. Fortunately, you only have to do that once. So now I should be able to go through here and say, well, this is bone fine. I can hit naming. That should sort it out, but unfortunately I can't click name. Weird. Okay. So there's two different methods of sculpting. One, careful, meticulous grabbing, or the other method is haphazardly wax buildup. Okay, those are the two methods I see all the time, and I kind of like both. I mix and mash them. So here's what I usually do: is like I'll go to the bulge brush. Kind of want to work on this bone all by itself, and in this area, notice it's yellow. I usually click on Lambert 1. That'll take away the yellow. I still can sculpt on this bone, even though it's not highlighted. So with the bulge brush, I'll just bulge this out. I'm looking for kind of more of a radial on this edge. And then I have this control. I call it the emancipation brush, or emancipate. It's the sucking in of geometry. You look emancipated. Okay, then when I go up in geometry, notice it has a nice change of form there, and everything's super smooth. So that's why I picked bones, not because we're making a bunch of crazy textures. It's because students don't take the time to go through the initial stage of going up in levels. They go to the immediately level 9, and what happens there, you end up sculpting on a balloon animal. So you should always go up in levels, establish your form all the way up. Holding shift, I can smooth. Now you wouldn't think a bone would be hard to sculpt, but mainly it's it is pretty difficult. That's why I like sculpting on these, because they're hard geometry rather than super soft. Like that. So here in this picture, I have a form change that goes from like here to here, and then here to there. This is where I kind of switch over to the other workflow of haphazard wax buildup. Turn that down. Whoa. Now, form change. Notice how like this form and this form are kind of separated a little bit by this. This is why, again, I like bones, because I like to show students that you can build up this surface, hold shift, and smooth it out. And it's all about that build up and smoothing, build up and smoothing. Here, I have a very straight, it goes into this little like divot, and it kind of lands up to right here. Okay, so build it up a little bit. There's a secondary brush I use a lot for this area, is called the scrape brush. And careful when it gets to the top. So I work this way up, because if I pull down, it really tears at the geometry based upon that angle. So smoothing issues, no problem. You take and you lower it down to the next subdevelop level, and then hold shift. You'll find that the smooth brush actually works correctly, and then you can just go back up. Okay, now establishing a form that's practically indestructible, use the pinch brush and start pinching away at this. What it does is it takes the polygons and it kind of sucks them together. You can see it very slowly working. But what happens now is anytime I go to use any of the brushes in that area, it doesn't, the form just stays the way it is, because there's some tight knit polygons in that area. Perfect. Small little meticulous things. Go back to the wax. Notice in this area it's a lot easier to smooth. And why? Well, when I used the bulge brush, it actually took and stretched out those polygons, so you'll find in this area it's really easy to smooth. And in areas of higher density, it's harder. Okay, I don't have a very good representation of the front of these bones. So I'm going to use my artistic eye here to make a form change. Then I'm going to use the scrape feature. And in this case, I want a very stark edge here. So again, wax just a little bit for the buildup. Make sure it's kind of smoothed out. And then I'll grab the scrape brush and develop a plane here, and then a plane here. Now if I can't get in this area to develop a plane, sometimes I'll take the sculpt brush and just kind of turn that down just a little bit here. Go like that. And that separates the two forms a little bit more. And now I can probably get in there with the scrape brush. Yeah, you didn't think a bone would be that complex to sculpt on, huh? Yeah. That's why I said Norwal project. This is not a Norwal project. This is a small, simple thing I can concentrate on. Sculpting the entire skeleton of a horse, that's a noob thing to do. Please don't fall into that noob category. You'll quickly get burned out, and it will start looking pretty bad at the end. Unless you have some kind of OCD that some other students might not have. And then don't claim yourself to have OCD and if you're not 100% sure. So there we go. Nice little V. Always try to keep wireframe off. That way you can blur your vision. Okay, I'd like this form change, but I want the wax. So here I have some tearing at the mesh, pretty bad, and it's not allowing me to actually smooth out that area or pinch it. This is probably a good opportunity to go up in one level. So now I have 90,000. But only did I go up a level because I was running into problems. I didn't go up there just because. You're going to find that the scrape brush works like 1,000 times better at this level. So now you can kind of work at those forms again. See how it's destructing itself right there? That's why I said when you hit at a lower level pinch, when you use any of the other tools from then out, it will not destroy it. So pinch these things together. And then go page up. Alright, so now notice it has a kind of a texture to it. It doesn't look like a balloon animal. Like this area right here looks very balloon animal-like, and that's what I don't like. And what I'll do there is use wax. I'll use that page down to go into the other one, and I'll just hold shift. So even smoothing it like that, after you sculpt on it a little bit, looks about a bajillion times better. Just one little layer. If you find yourself getting too many layers or too thick, you can back that down. There. Now let's establish form. Here, notice the ball is too big. This one's a little bit smaller. So how would I fix that? Well, very easy. Lower it down. So if I'm moving things at a very low level and then page up, it doesn't destroy the detail. It keeps all the form. And then I could just make adjustments like with the scrape tool to blend those forms back together. Cool. Alright, so that's it. Basically how I handle very elementary form design. Not the detail, but just the form design in itself, and I'll probably do that for every bone. But that's my workflow at this level. So let's move on to the next video.